Hey guys, we're here. That's Cool Drink, episode number 5. And guys, I'm super duper excited about this one. I've got Cole Reynolds on, and we're going to talk all kinds of cool stuff. But just wanted to real quick just thank everyone for tuning in and everything else kind of going on through everything going on. I mean, I know we're not always on Thursday. We moved to Friday for today, but thank you guys for being flexible and being available for this stuff. And I'm really, really, really having fun with this. And like I said, guys, hit the subscribe, hit the like if you're liking kind of what's going on here and whatnot. And I've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. And if you haven't watched any of the previous episodes, they're super good. Ben Wood was like a sleeper, like super duper fun time. So check those out. And I've got some good stuff coming up here soon. Again, Cole tonight. And I've got Carlos Astor next week, and that's going to be a very, very cool one. But without further ado, everybody, Cole Reynolds. Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Live from your grandparents' house.
I'm super excited about this. Yes. Yeah, I came down here to have dinner and was like, shoot, I got to hop on this podcast. So they're out getting dinner right now. I'm doing this, which don't want to be doing anything else.
That's super awesome. A little housekeeping. If you, I'm sure you know, I hope you know, on the right side is the comments button. You can kind of see the comments that come up, and I can bring up comments as well. I'm sure you've seen this and whatnot with your background, if you will. But you'll see the comments kind of come through. So we'll kind of add some Q&A in from all the audience and people that are watching. Feel free just to throw out questions, and when we can get to them, we'll get to them. And yeah, dude. But thank you so much for being on. This is going to be a blast, dude.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. You know, when you asked, and I was so excited, and I didn't realize, like, I just clicked over to the normal comments, and I can see everybody, popping on. So that's really cool.
It's super cool, man. And it's, I mean, you are, you're in the kind of automotive journalism kind of royalty, from Chad with the Bang Shift stuff, and then you've gone off and kind of done a bunch of your own stuff as well. And I kind of want to touch on like all of that, but we don't have that much time. I mean, we just don't. I mean, the amount of stuff that you're doing, that you have been doing, that you continue to do is just mind-boggling to me. And dude, congratulations! Like you are really, really coming into your own. You kind of got your own stuff going on right now. Real quick, just plug kind of what you've got going on with your social media management stuff. A lot of your your photography type stuff. Kind of kick on that, and then obviously pimp any of your stuff that you have going real quick.
For sure. Yeah. Just for you guys that don't know, my name is Cole Reynolds. I grew up in an automotive family that built and raced cars, and my grandparents raced cars, my dad, my mom raced, and so it's kind of like I've always been around cars and had a passion for building and racing, and now creating content surrounding all of my personal builds. And I see like Mike Stiver, said love to love. I have a 1974 Chevy Love that I'm building, and it's kind of different. It's there it is. It's a full tube chassis that I built, knowing nothing about building chassis. And it's actually center drive too, because for those of you that don't know, I'm 6'6". I don't fit in a lot of different cars. And so I bought that truck when I was 13 years old, out of Tucson, Arizona, and it kind of sat on the back burner. We were building and running my mom's car on drag week and, race week and stuff like that. And once I moved out to Texas, I was finally, there's my mom's car, Ethel.
Yep.
And after we moved out to Texas, I was finally able to start working on it and start learning and building it. And the project has kind of taken off and has become bigger than I ever thought it would be. But it's cool to continue to, show people that, I mean, you can learn from me and learn from my mistakes, because at the end of the day, I have no clue what I'm doing half the time, but, I make it work. And
none of us do, man.
Yeah. So you kind of have to mess up and retry and, learn from those mistakes. But yeah, besides that, like Adam touched on, I do a lot of automotive based content, like photos and videos at events. So I met Adam actually on race week, like the first race week. First race week. And I remember my mom brought me up to you, and she was like, hey, I need sunscreen. I forgot sunscreen, and Cole's getting sunburned. And that was when I met you, and then here we are. How many years later?
I mean, that was 2015, so
Yeah, so 8.
8 years. Yeah,
Yeah, which is just it's crazy to think about that, but that was such a fun event, just getting to ride with my mom along on that event, with Chad, my dad, doing all the TV show stuff and video stuff. That was my first ever drag and drive event, and it kinda sparked the love and the passion for these events for me.
for sure, man. And just backing up a little bit on the love, it's also got a lot of like other very cool stuff going on. It's center drive, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
but it's also mid-engine LS
Mhm.
as well, right?
Yeah, with twin turbos.
Twin turbos as well, and it's got like kind of like weird cantilever suspension or something weird going on it. Tell us about kind of all the suspension going
Yeah.
that you.
Yeah, so I got a fifth gen Camaro IRS cradle for it. It had been narrowed up like 7 inches, and it was originally going to go on a friend's C3 Corvette. I bought it. I was grafting it into the love. I actually made the love a roller. Took it up to a shop called Do Soul Designs, where I do marketing and social media work for them,
Mhm.
and was just going to build a cage. And Mike, the owner over there, was like, "Hey, put this mock-up block in it. Put a Muncie in it. See if everything fits. With all the stuff that I was going to put in it," and I didn't. The shifter was like underneath my knee. It just wasn't going to work. So Mike was like, "Hey, cut it in half, put the engine in the back, put a transaxle back there." And I was like, "Dude, this truck has to be at LS Fest East in 2 months just as a
Right.
roller with an LS in it." But like, and I'm 20 at the time. I was like, "You're stupid. Like, if you think I can do this, you were so stupid." But he was like, "Just do it. Just cut it. Like, I'm not going to help you build it, but if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to tell you my opinions and everything like that." And so I cut it in half, and exactly 2 months after that day, I had it at LS Fest East as a roller with an engine in it, and it
That
was
was that was this one here, right?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and it was a hit. I couldn't believe the amount of people that just kept coming up to it and asking me questions, and I think that moment was just so gratifying. Like, I felt like I had accomplished something, and overall, it's like it was still just a project that was just a bare chassis and a cab at that point. And to see where it's at now it's insane. And
Totally
hopefully,
is.
by this time next year, it'll be running and driving. But trying to work to
Stuff.
make the money to buy parts and everything like that.
That's life, dude. That's adulting as a car dude. I mean,
Yeah.
you build it when you have the money to build it, and
Yeah.
when you don't have the money to build it, it sits, unfortunately, and that's where a bunch of my stuff is at right now too, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's like there's little things to do. Like right now, I'm doing the door bars. I just got the whole truck sandblasted, and I sprayed the chassis, I
Cool.
painted the chassis, and primered the whole body, and just try to make it look more presentable. And on the parts that aren't going to get touched again, it's like, okay, I can finally start just mounting stuff and not having to worry about tearing it back apart and having to paint something, in the future. It's like everything's good right now. So I've been working
Totally.
on like door bars. I just got the SADEV sequential transaxle in, so you can start mocking that up. That was the biggest like cost, and it took me a long time to recoup and or like get that money for it. But I'm finally at the point where I have it. It's in my possession, and I can slap it in there, start mocking it up, and figuring out what I need to do to get it to work.
That's awesome, dude. It's super cool, and like I've been following it as well, but it's really cool to kind of let everyone else kind of see it and get an idea of it, and obviously you can see all this on all your social media as well.
Yep.
And I just kind of like went through them a little bit. I found this. This is like an older video, I believe.
Yeah,
And
this was from like 2 months ago.
okay, all right.
Yep.
So, oh, I can't see that. There we go. So this is the bedside's all Zeus off. It looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I really want the truck to be easy to work on. And so having the engine in the back, like in the bed, it was kind of hard to get to everything. And I had all the bedsides mounted, but they were all just hard mounted and with just like normal nuts and bolts. And I was like, man, I really want this to be not a 15-minute long project to get the bedsides off.
Right.
And so I used those quick latches from Summit and Zeus fasteners. And now I can, like you see, take all the bedsides off and put them back on in under a minute.
Super cool, man. Super
Yeah.
cool. But again, guys, you can go check that out. That's Project First Love.
Hmm.
Is it still called Project First Love?
Yeah, and that's the name my mom gave it to it, and it's always going to be like that truck was my first love. So
Totally, dude. Totally. Um, so yeah, so you've got that. That comes from a lot of your kind of autocrossing background as well, and you do kind of a little bit of everything, like kind of
mhm,
poking through a bunch of your stuff pre this. I saw you cruising around on a dirt track with
yeah,
a like a NASCAR truck.
yep,
Obviously, a lot of autocross type stuff and drag racing as well. But
yeah.
you tend to kind of, it seems like personally, go more towards the tourney type stuff.
Yeah, I think that I kinda, like, grew up more around drag racing and then autocross, and I kinda fell in love with autocross and, turning, and then this truck will be autocross some, but primarily will see road course races, which is
Cool.
something that I wanna step into that I haven't done a lot of, so I wanna go fast, and I think the safest and best place to do that while turning is at a road course, but
That's
I
awesome.
definitely
Hell
wanna
yeah.
start going more into drag racing and other things like that. But yeah, the love will definitely be it'll be fun. It'll be quick. It'll weigh like 2,500 pounds, make 700 horsepower, and have 315 square. Like
Yeah,
it'll be fast.
that should scoot pretty good. And again, road course stuff, which is a
Yeah,
whole lot different than your autocross type stuff. Like you can use more than like first gear, and get the thing
yeah,
really really wound out and test all that stuff. Really,
mhm,
really hammer the brakes and really get all the suspension and
yeah,
everything working well. And I think that's going to be super cool, dude. I can't wait to watch it.
yeah. I'm really excited. I'm excited to use that sequential trans too, of just like flat floor
Yeah,
shifting, and
bop,
then
bop, bop.
yeah, it'll
That is going
be
to be cool.
yeah, it'll be an addicting feeling because I've never driven like I've driven a sequential, car around like a building, but never on track. So
Right.
it'll be fun.
That's super cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's I'm like I said, I'm super excited to see it kind of come to fruition, and I've watched it kind of since you picked it up and had started it, and it's kind of a couple different motor iterations and stuff like that as well. But
Yeah.
I'm happy to see it's getting God's engine. I'm happy to see it's getting a couple of twin turbos. That's it's going to be an awesome deal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it should be fun.
heck yes. So, dude, backing up, let's go back to Race Week 2015, where I met, your mom. Really, I met Chad for the first time, where we actually sat down and kind of talked, and that's
Yeah.
where I got that photo of you, baby Cole,
Yeah.
hanging out there in the back seat of Ethel, and of course, that's this car. That's the '66 Bel Air.
Mhm.
It's got a Gen 1 small block, and I believe not nitrous that first year, but it got nitrous eventually,
Yeah. And
and then got
actually
a
that
Pro
first
Charger.
year yeah, that first year it actually had a 383 stroker in it.
Hmm.
That was in the Crusher Camaro that David
Okay.
Farberger owned.
Yep.
So it came out of that, went into mom's wagon, and then it got that Blueprint 400 power outer motor, and eventually got nitrous, and then got a Pro Charger, and we ran that show fastest car with it. Uh,
Fastest street car, I think,
yeah,
or something like
fastest
that.
car, yeah. And then now it has nitrous on it again. But sadly it's sitting at my dad's house in the driveway with a bad fuel pump, and I'm like, man, just let
Just
me get
let's
my
put a
hands
fuel
on
pump
it.
in it. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like I work for Works, fuel systems as a
Yeah.
marketing consultant, and I'm like, I can get a fuel pump and I can do a story on it. Like, let's get this thing back on the road where it deserves to be. But I know that he has other plans for it, and he's busy himself. But
It is what it
anybody's
is. But
listening, go tell Chad, let Cole take the wagon.
and actually, Chad's on. He's at the Spring Fling
Yeah.
million bracket race right now, and so I actually think that he is working. So you can actually just jump over on YouTube real quick over to Bang Shift,
Yeah.
and in the little chat area there, he's Bang Shift Chad, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just let him know that Cole needs the wagon,
Yeah.
and you can do that now. That's fine. That's totally
Yeah.
cool. You can leave to do that,
But
then
come back.
come back, and then
Yeah.
come hang out with us more.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
would
so
be fun
those
to
that
get
don't
come back.
know, bam, Chad
Yeah.
Reynolds is he's your dad. I mean, he's your stepdad, but he's your dad. I mean, he
Yeah.
raised you. And I've got a similar kind of story with that as well. So our backgrounds are really really similar, which is tragic but also good at the
Mhm.
same time. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so those that don't know, Chad Reynolds, who is Bang Shift, and he's been on all sorts of automotive stuff forever and ever and ever. Met your mom, Daphne. There's Daphne.
Yep.
Bam. And how old were you when they first got together?
I think I was 3 or 4, and the funny thing is that like I said, I'm at my grandparents' house right now. Chad met my mom while buying an engine from my grandpa here at this house.
That's
I got
awesome.
it at the shop, and he was buying it for, I think, his Nova that he had at the time. He had, like, a '72 Nova, and he was buying a big block from my grandpa that my grandpa had for sale. It was some rare Morrison big block, and, uh, Chad had met my mom or saw my mom, and then they had left, and Chad was like, "I'll come pick it up, later this week or something." And when he came back, he had got my mom's number or something, and from then on out, they were dating, and he actually picked mom up for their first date in his '56 Bel Air station wagon named Rusty.
Right,
And
right.
I just remember like my grandpa saw that and he was just like, "What the heck?" But I mean, I think everybody would be. You see some rust bucket, old station wagon pulling up to pick your daughter up for a date, and it'd be weird.
Oh, totally. And he had a choice of a couple of cars, and I can't remember what the other one was, but it was like a Corvette or something. It maybe
Yeah, he
I
had
don't,
a C4, a yellow. I think it was a yellow C4 Corvette. Then he had
yeah,
like a lifted square body Chevy, and then that.
right. So yeah,
So
he was like sitting at home, like, well, like this car is kind of famous. Like, what do I go get her in? And he chose Rusty,
it's
which is super
different.
duper cool. And then the rest is
Yeah,
history, obviously. I mean, bam, there's you, bam, there's you guys. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's all good, man. It's super cool. But yeah, so 2015, you guys bring out Ethel, and
Hmm.
you are your mom's co-pilot on this, right? Because Chad was working something with Bang
Yeah,
Shift for
yeah. He was
race
doing
week.
Yeah, he was doing all the video stuff for race week, and I remember I was 15 or 14, I think, and so I couldn't even help my mom drive.
Right.
Uh, and luckily, like one night it got really sketchy, and it was pouring rain. The car was on radials, and mom was falling asleep. It was like 3 a.m. because it was
Right.
before we had all the drive days in between. And I remember Dennis Taylor was following along with Lewis from Crower, and Dennis was like, "Hey, I'll hop in with Cole. Um, I'll drive for a couple of hours because I know that you can't, have a co-pilot." And luckily, Matt Frost is super lenient on that kind of stuff. If it comes down to you being safe or not, you always, you're allowed to be safe.
Err on the side of safety every
Yeah.
time.
So that was actually the first time like I even talked to Dennis, and now I consider them, all the Taylors good friends. And
Yeah.
Dennis was, I remember I thought he was like, it was weird riding with a, random, old guy at like
Yeah.
4 in the morning. And I was like, oh gosh, but we had such good conversation, and I talked to him about the love and stuff, and it was really cool. But yeah, that
That's
first
awesome.
race week was honestly also where I picked up a camera for the first time and shot photos. So that first event has like so much meaning, to me because it was the start of what I do now.
Totally. And your mom fell in love with race week as well. So
Yep.
like she came back multiple years after, and yes, had nitrous on the thing, and was really trying to get it kind of moving in the right direction
Mhm.
and make it fast and
Yep.
whatnot. And then sadly ended up with cancer.
Yeah.
And so I mean, this first year, no cancer, healthy, everyone's cool, we're having a good time, life is good.
Yep.
By the second year, was it the second year or the third year?
I think it was the third.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was the third.
So, and that was when we ended up with this photo,
Yes.
and that was when your mom got her personal best with
Mhm.
Ethel,
Yeah.
and yeah, and had missed a couple of days kind of prior to that as well, because I think she was sick, right? And just she was like, I just can't, but like I want to keep going,
Yeah.
and ended up making this pass, and it really ended up making her week, even though she was struggling along in that
Yeah.
process.
For those of you who don't know, like, and for you, I don't know if you know this story, but before that, she was technically in remission,
Okay.
and she started feeling bad and got a headache, and she had ran that pass, and then the next day, which that pass was at Kearney, the next day, I think we were back at
Great Bend.
Great Bend, yeah, or that was at Great Bend. The next
Yep.
day we were at Kearney,
Correct.
where we ended, and she missed that day. She got a really bad headache and went in and to the hospital there, and they found out that the cancer had come back and spread like severely.
Right.
So it was kind of like you have that giant high and then immediately get hit with that low. And I think it definitely scared like all of us, but
Well,
you know,
and like even all of us, all of like you guys, obviously, but like the entire kind of race week, the word had gotten around that like, oh no, oh shit, like this is
yeah,
not good. And it was a very similar situation for kind of everybody.
yeah. But after that, we left the car there in Great Bend or in Kearney, sorry. And then we got a rental car and just hightailed home. We drove straight through the night. And I think that I had my license at that point or had like my learner's permit. And I mean, literally, Chad and I are flying down the highway at like 100 mile an hour through the night, just trying to get back to
Right.
LA to go to her, real doctor, like her normal doctor,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and try to figure everything out. But sadly, within 3 months of that was when she passed.
Right, right.
So it sucks, but I think a lot of people overlook. Like you can always think about how bad it sucks that somebody died, but you look at like that last year, and it was such an amazing year. You pulled up a photo earlier of all of us smiling, and it was
Yeah,
from Bonneville. And it was like my mom and I's first time. That one, yeah, that was my mom and I's first time at Bonneville, and that was such a fun event too. And you can see, yeah, she didn't have hair in there, so yeah, she had cancer, and like I just remembered that group of events that we went to throughout the year, and it was just so much fun because even when Chad wasn't there, I mean, it was a lot of the time it was just my mom and I, and we had so much fun and bonded so much, and it was a blessing because I was able to do online school when she got sick, and then
yep.
I graduated, through that online school. But uh, being able to hang out with her, make those memories, as a 16, 17-year-old kid with their mom, it's like, yeah, a lot of that age, you're like, "Oh, I don't want to hang out with my mom," but there was nothing more that I wanted to do, than hang
Well,
out with her.
yeah, and I mean, like, what better way to get to know someone than be locked into a couple of hundred, 100 square feet with them for a week? And I
Yeah,
mean, you live together, you eat together, you're farting in the same car. It's just
yeah,
you're doing the stuff that you do when you bond, and what a very cool thing for you to be to kind of have in your memory banks for those last couple of years, because I mean, you guys really got the opportunity to get super duper close along that. And um tell us a little bit about kind of a lot of like this kind of stuff.
So that was at a checkpoint somewhere, I think, in between. It was on like one of the late night drives, probably in between Pueblo and Kearney, or Pueblo and Great Bend or something.
Right.
And I remember my mom was like, "You need to ask him if you can take a picture with him arresting you." And I asked the guy, he was the sheriff in the town, and it was a small little town. And I remember he was like, "Yeah," and dude jerked me and put me on the hood and like full on, and I was like, "Holy shit! I never want this to happen to me because this is scary." Even though I knew it was fake, I was like, "Oh my god, what is going on?"
Right.
But yeah, that was a fun night. That was a late night. That was actually the same night that Dennis had to drive the car, because I remember it was such a long night, and Eric Yost was there.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm trying to remember who else was following along, but that was a fun year. It was definitely the like smallest race week, but I think it was the most memorable
Oh,
for
for
a lot.
sure. For sure the most memorable. And again, that's kind of where I met you guys, and it really put that foundation into everything that we kind of do, both with race week, but with the friends that we meet along the
Yeah.
way, and with the connections that we make as well. And that's kind of my idea with this, especially this first year,
Mhm.
first few, at least few months, is I want to try to get everyone that did the first race week.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a very, very cool thing to kind of see how everyone's perspective is along the week. And unfortunately, Daphne's not here. So you're standing in for Daphne today because you were there. You've been on all of these. You've kind of lived the entire experience. So I think that no one can tell her story like you can.
Yeah, and I've missed one race week out of every single race week there's been, and it was last year, and I had to miss it for the Pikes Peak Hill Climb.
Right.
I had previous obligations to be there for a team that I was with, and sadly I missed it, but I came back for 2.0 and it was like I, never left. And
Yep.
it's cool to
Yep.
see the people that come and go. You have a lot of racers that are still doing it from early on, and then you have some people that we haven't seen again, like Larson, who
Right.
you haven't seen since like the third year. And it sucks because you miss those people, but you make new friends, and it's a never-ending cycle of having fun.
I'm really looking forward. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have Larry Larson on.
That'll be cool.
I reached out to him, and he was very, very into it. He was like, "I'm in. That sounds awesome. I can't wait."
Yeah.
So we're trying to nail down the timeline or timeline for that. But I want to ask him that same exact question. And I know he's busy too, and everyone's kind of got their stuff going on, and he's got the No Prep Kings thing going on. But
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of want to see what his first few years were like, and see if there's any way we can get him back. Because I mean, my God, he's Larry Larson. I mean, he's the Pope of Dragon Drive. So
Yeah.
but it was cool to have him
Yeah.
on that first
He was out
one.
driving the Chevy Camaro.
Yeah, I saw that. He was getting Mexican food with that thing. Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Digging a little bit more
Yeah.
into some pictures here, dude. I want you to explain. This is one
Mhm.
that both you and your mom had as cover photos. So tell us
Yes.
about that.
So that photo was taken at the first LS Fest West in Las Vegas, and the first LS Fest I ever attended. And I remember like we had a couple of cones set up, and I started just like I hopped on the golf cart and was driving around on the cones. And I remember her being like, "No, you can't do this. This is against the rules." And I was like, "Screw it, who cares?" And a friend of mine, I believe it was Greg Blundell, took that photo, and it it was my lock screen for the longest time. It was my cover photo for the longest time because it was, and that was actually while she still had cancer too, I believe.
I believe
Uh,
so. Yeah.
and it just envisioned our relationship.
Oh yeah.
It was always trying to have fun and make the best of a moment, because like if mom was known for something, it's like you never really saw her in her feels or down. She was always upbeat, always
Yep.
happy, always trying to get into something, just trying to have fun.
Well, and I mean, the smiles tell it all. I mean, look
Yeah.
at the smile on your mom's face right there. Just, I mean, that's just amazing. Such a good experience for you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was a blast. And I definitely miss times like that, but I'm happy that I can look back on it and say that it did happen. Because I know
yeah,
a lot of people don't get to have those experiences with loved ones who have passed away. And so um like just opening up, it's like from the moment that mom and dad told me that she had cancer, I like never really was like, "Oh my god, no, no, no." It was kind of like, "Okay, how can we, help this? Like how can we fix the
right.
situation?"
What do we do?
Yeah, what do you got to do? How can I help you? Where do we got to go? Who do we have to see? Uh, and then, you know, trying to keep that mentality throughout it so that she didn't get down either, because it's easy for if loved ones are constantly like, "I'm so sorry that you have cancer." It's like, what is that going to do to their head? They're going to be
Right.
like, "Fuck, I have cancer." Like, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." It's like, no, you want to be able to build them up and say, like, you're going to fucking kick this thing's ass, whether you know it or not.
Totally.
You want to be positive. And I think so many people helped mom with that, because they were like, you got this. And,
Well, and
people
kind of
checking up on her. And
the whole team Wicked chick
yep.
that came out with that as well. And
Yeah.
I know that was a big thing that you were kind of pushing at the time as well. And
Hmm.
there were people, and again, it kind of showed the width of what who she touched,
Yeah.
and motorsports community people, and all different facets of motorsports community people had Team Wicked Chick stuff on their cars.
Yeah.
And I still have one on my car, and people still have it. And we obviously Chad kind of came up with the Wicked Chick Award, and everything with the new kind of class of all the women racing in
Mhm.
race week. And that's kind of a paying homage to your mom. And
Yep.
that's kind of her like lasting legacy, is that every a couple of times a year minimum, we all get together and remember how badass Daphne was, dude.
Yeah. She was definitely like, yeah, anybody who knew her knew that she was always just wanting to have fun and wanting to support everybody, and she loved kids. I'm glad that she passed that on to me because, it's like she was always wanting to, even at the track. It's like I remember when Tyson, Easton, and Cameron, Matt Frost and
Oh
June's
yeah.
kids were all young, and she was out like squeezing fireflies and rubbing it on their hands to make their hands glow, and like playing hide and go seek or tag or driving them around on the golf cart. It's like it was stuff like that that made me want to teach, motivate, and inspire like kids in the next generation of automotive enthusiasts. And she definitely ingrained like a lot of that passion and that like caringness and just all that into me. So it's definitely, it's cool to look back on all the photos and think of all the memories about how kind and special of a woman that she was.
Totally, dude. I mean, that's nutshell. Stop. We could just stop now, and that would pretty much be it. And because that is 100% it. She was so into pushing everything to the kids, and she was always into helping kids out and explaining what she was doing to. And it was the Frost kids as well. And I remember her doing something on Ethel, and I can't remember what it was. And I think you were in the back playing Game Boy or something, um, and they walked up and she was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this," and you were like, you kind of came out like, "Oh," and then you kind of came up and you were doing the exact same thing, and they were whatever 6, and you were 14, and your mom was
Mhm.
however old your mom was, but it was funny watching you take over what she was doing while these kids were hanging out and enjoying and learning. And I could totally see that she passed that down to you for sure.
Yeah. And it's crazy to watch like those kids grow up throughout all this too. It's like every year I go back and I'm like, dang, like you guys are getting as tall as me. It's
Right.
like I forget that I was in their position once too. Of like it's crazy to see it like through somebody else's eyes though.
Well, totally. And I mean, you don't know. I mean, one day you're the nerdy little kid sitting in the back seat,
Yep.
and the next day you're Cole Reynolds, certified badass, and
Too
that just
kind.
happens. Like it's just part of the deal. Like they were just little kids that were little dorky kids, and now they have big mullets and diesel trucks and
Yeah.
whatever the hell they're doing these days. But um, and it is so cool watching all the families, watching all the kids grow up, go from where you were, kind of sitting in the back seat, not able to do anything, to, I mean, piloting a car now if you want. I mean, you obviously are doing more of your media type stuff, and we'll kind of jump into that a little bit here soon. But
Yeah.
it's super duper cool, and especially this last couple of years when we've had the junior street
Yeah.
competitors, because same deal, they're 13 to 16 year olds. Um, we get them in at 13, we have them for a few years, and then next thing you know, they're in their own car
Yeah.
and kicking ass, and it's super cool. Like even Caleb Dorn, he was on the first race week with Janae Hammond.
Mhm.
That's her son, and
Yeah.
she was taking photos for race week. And he has there's a photo of him with a big sign that says like "Welcome Race Week" or something like that. And he won last year the bracket challenge in
Yeah.
his front wheel drive car. So he's been involved in this from little itty bitty nothing to where you're at it right now as well. And it's super duper fun to watch and see these people kind of continually come back and grow and get better and get faster and get more, in your case, like just moving forward with your brand and getting more successful and, building your own legacy out of where you sort of, again, started to, you're not Chad, you're
Yeah.
Cole.
Yeah.
And Cole does stuff that Chad does, but Cole does Cole stuff too.
Yeah.
And there's a differentiation now that is super duper cool to watch, because you could have just, okay, I'm Bankshift Junior, but you've
Yeah.
taken it so much further, and you're doing all your photography stuff and all your social media stuff, and it's very very cool to watch. And again, like it started here with you getting sunburned,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
here you are now. So
Yeah.
it is so cool to watch happen, and in a very unique position with a week with people, again, eating gas station food and farting in the car with each other and getting gas at the gas stations next to each other and
Yeah.
almost hitting the same deer and
Yeah.
all that same crap. But it's just such a different vibe, a different feel than anything else that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and like
But
you touched on it, I think a lot of kids that were in my position, it's like, your dad does something and, they become successful at it and you want to follow in their footsteps. And I thank Chad a ton for, getting me into motorsports and introducing me to the people that he did. But I also commend him for when I asked, like, hey, teach me, what you know about bank shift, like teach me how to take this over. He said no.
right.
I don't know if that is so that I would do my own thing or if he just thought like, no, I want to keep doing this by myself. No matter what it is, you know, I think it sparked a fire in me to, start doing my own stuff. And like I shot photos for a long time since I was 15. I started getting paid to shoot photos, and I remember he would pay me like $20 a gallery, and that really started me, into the photography world and meeting new people. And from there on, it's like I wanted to go my own way with content creation and building my own stuff and racing other people's cars and that I love that photo. Um,
Such a good photo.
and it's like him almost like making me a little annoyed or angry, like really pushed me to like try to become as successful as I can be, and taking all the different avenues of photography and videography and, personal content creation and like watching what him and Freiberger and Finnegan did with Car Junkie TV and like having that transform into roadkill and all that. It's like, I see what's possible and I see what's out there. And that was one of my favorite photos.
It's such a good
Um,
photo.
yeah. And it's like I wish I could get it from the front too, but I feel like that just tells such a cool story.
Oh, it totally
Um,
does. It totally does. And that's at Great Bend,
mhm.
which that track has a special place in your heart
Yep.
as well. Tell the story with Tom McGilton's car and
Okay.
with your mom's ashes.
Yeah. So before my mom passed away, her and Tom had talked, and she was like, "I want you to spread some of my ashes with your car." And like I get literally chills, thinking about this story because Tom hadn't gone 200 mile an hour in that car uh, ever, and
Right.
then he
On the
goes,
he'd been on the cusp like a couple of 199s,
"Yep,
but never broke 200.
yeah." And I know that he came up to Chad and he was like, "Hey, I want to spread some of Daphne's ashes." And so I got the text of like, "Hey, be on the starting line in 5 minutes. Tom is going to spread some of mom's ashes." And I was like, "Holy crap!" Like all the feelings started coming to me, and I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" And he uh he made his pass, and it was his first 200-mile-an-hour pass. I think it's his only 200
I
mile an
don't think he's
hour pass.
yeah, I don't think he's gone 200 since.
Yeah, and I literally just got chills again. Seeing, that pop up on the scoreboard and like seeing the big plume of smoke at the end, at the top end, it was such a crazy feeling. And I just remember breaking down right after and just like walking away like from the starting line because he ran Chad. Chad was an Ethel.
Oh, right.
Um,
Right.
and Chad had taken off, and it was about right at the finish line. Chad was crossing the beams, and McGilton crossed the beams at the same time, and pulled the chutes, and that's when the ashes got spread. And I just remember like from that moment, just like breaking down, and like Kyle Loftus, or I think it was Kyle, or it might have been Matt, like had the camera like pointed at me, and I'm just like,
Yeah, and you're like,
you know, I'm like, don't look at me,
stop.
yeah,
But Great Bend was that's where she got her personal best. This is at Great Bend as well.
yeah,
So that's that the opportunity for race week being at Great Bend is what built that opportunity. I mean,
yeah.
your mom had her best pass there, and Chad has told me a bunch of times, like her and I pretty much those first few years were always in the same class. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were always sort of chasing each other and jockeying around and
Yeah.
doing stuff. And that first year, when you needed sunscreen, Chad pulled me aside and he kind of like grabbed, he's like, hey, if you see this wagon on the side of the road and you don't stop, like, I'm going to kill you. Cause like, this is my precious cargo. So like, please keep an eye on my people for me when I can't. And I was like, totally. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. I'm in. And so
Yeah.
like, and again, we had been in the kind of the same class and everything. So ever since then, like your mom and I had that sort of special connection because,
Mhm.
we were always jockeying for, I think the first year I ended up winning the 13-0 class.
Yep.
And I don't think the wagon was doing super well that year. I'm not sure what was going on, but that second year and that third year, it was like neck and neck. Like I was second, she was third, or she was second and I was third,
Yeah.
or I was in first and she was barely in second, and it was so much fun. And we always ended up at Great Bend, and that's where I ran the fastest and where she ran the fastest on race
Mhm.
week, because obviously Rocky Mountain race week is high altitude, so it's just
Yeah.
slow. So when we
Yeah.
get to Great Bend, like, oh my God, we have air, and all of a sudden the stuff is fast, and that's that's really what sticks in my mind with your mom, is this exact picture from this run. And this is pre me working the event, so I was racing the event, and I didn't get to see this until after. I don't know what I was doing, putting my tires on or doing something, but I saw this after, and I had the same, like, I broke down from that. And then that's when you guys were like hightailing out of town, and I was just like, this was the coolest, like, experience that anyone could ever have had. Like, and thank you, Daphne and the Reynolds, for giving us that, for sharing that with us. And it was super cool. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's like you said, Great Bend is a very memorable track, and it will always hold a special place in my heart.
absolutely. And I've got to show this one as well, because that's my
Hmm.
fiance and that's my car. But yeah, that's Stevie. You do a lot of really cool driver photos that I really love. It's not necessarily the car or not necessarily making the pass; it's the driver, and and especially a lot of the ones that are black and white. They
Mhm.
show so much, and I
Yeah.
mean that's such a cool thing. But what kind of got you that idea?
So first off, I just want to say when I was taking that photo, Stevie was like yelling at me like to stop taking it. It was the funniest thing, and I was like, "I'm sorry, just look straight." Um,
That sounds like something she would do.
but Wes Allison, who is a automotive photographer, he helped me a lot, getting into photography, and has always been a really big mentor of mine. He does these things called the Portraits of Drag Week, and I texted him and was like, "Dude, I really want to do this for race week. I don't want to cramp on your style though. I don't want to copy you. Do you mind if I do that?" And he was like, "Dude, go right ahead. Like, please do it." And from that moment forward, it's a different approach to him than he does, and just the black and white tells so much more of a story to me than anything with color.
It
It's you can
totally
really
does.
focus in on the subject, and it's like just looking at her face, you're thinking like, what is going on? Like, what is she thinking? Where is she at? And it it just makes for more memorable photos. And I love shooting black and white photos of people, and just all the different expressions, if people are mad, sad, happy. It's so much more apparent when it's black and white.
It totally is, and it gives so much more kind of grain to it.
Yeah.
It's very it's, I hate to be like artsy fartsy, but it's artsy fartsy. It
Mhm.
gives you so much more depth
Yeah.
into, and especially when you're talking about into a person and not
Yeah.
necessarily into a car. Yes, there's cars involved in all of this stuff because we're racing, but like involving the head, the face of this person, in a helmet, or staring. You've got a great one of Robert Williams, and he's just got, like, he's got the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
He's ready, and he's in the helmet, and you don't know what car he's in, you don't know what track he's at, you don't know what race he's at. It doesn't even matter. It's him getting ready to do his thing, and it's so perfect.
Yeah, I love that photo. I know exactly which one you're talking about because it actually got like a big two-page spread in Drag Illustrated magazine. And I remember seeing that and sending it to him. I was like, dude, I couldn't be happier about what photo they chose for this.
Oh,
Because
totally.
it was like his eyes were just like so deep and glowing. And it was like you said, it was an artsy fartsy photo. It was just deep and it told so much of a story.
Right. Right. It totally did.
But
But
yeah, I love doing those.
I love that you do those. So keep doing them, because it's
I
super
will.
awesome. And
I
you can
will.
keep taking pictures of this young lady, because I don't know if people know yet or not, but we're getting married. We're gonna Next spring. We're going to Douglas, Wyoming, where we met, and we're gonna get married in Douglas, Wyoming. and it's going to be a freaking blast. But yes, I met myself a car girl, and I asked her to marry me over Christmas. So I am super duper excited, and can't wait, man.
Congrats again, by the way, because that is awesome.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So, all right, guys. So, hey, we're at 45 minutes. I think we really have dug into a ton of stuff, and I really really appreciate you sharing about your mom, and I know that's not always the easiest thing. I lost my mom relatively young as well, and it. Yes, I understand it. It's not very much fun talking about that stuff, but I think it's a really, really, really good thing for people to kind of see and feel. And the folks that didn't get a chance to meet her can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of what kind of person she was
Yeah.
by yakking with you for a little while. Um, but so thank you, dude. Like I said, I know that's tough. And from me to you as a buddy, dude, thank you. It's super cool. But
Thank you for
that's
giving me the opportunity, to talk about her because oh,
sorry, go
sorry?
ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about her because so many people kind of like fear asking me questions about her because they're like, I don't want to bring up, something negative. But like people need to realize like, it did happen and shitty things happen in life. But you can't dwell on the past and you can't dwell on the fact that something bad happened and you kind of got to look at the positive and mom, spread so much positivity that I love hearing the stories about her and I love people asking questions and being able to, share her positivity and her story with everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. But so, folks that are watching, all two of you, so it's probably Shanna, your lady, and Stevie, my lady, and like Chad's probably tuning in real quick just to see why we're trying to give away Ethel. But
Yeah.
those of you that are on, click on the comments, ask some Q&A questions and whatnot. I'm going to run through my kind of standard 10 here real quick, and we'll run through those. If we get any more, we'll answer those. But I think we're pretty good. Like I said, this can be as short or as long as it needs to be, and you've got kind of food waiting for you as well. So, so that said, I'm going to run through a few of my questions.
For sure.
And folks, if you want to add in some Q&A type stuff here that you want Cole to answer, he told me kind of when we got started with this, he's an open book, so you can almost ask him anything. Would be my guess. And he
Yeah.
also played water polo, so I can actually show some pictures of him in a bikini if you want to see
Oh
that.
gosh.
Let's not. But so let's what's the largest thrash that you've seen or been a part of?
Oof. I would say, oof. Man, I've been part of a lot. Just to name a couple, my personal one to get to LS Fest East when I was debuting the truck was a Mad
Mhm.
Thrash. When we were finishing Mom's Wagon for race week, that had a couple of, you know, late nights, meaning like,
I think that's this one actually.
yeah, that's one of them. There have been a lot at the shop I work at, Jusol Designs, trying to get the Camaro ready for Pikes Peak and other races. When we took Chad's 69 Camaro on race week, that was another
Yes.
one. Um,
You guys
man,
didn't you like drove that around the block and put it on the trailer and towed it to Pueblo, I
I,
believe.
I honestly, it didn't even drive around the block. We put it in reverse and turned it around and then drove it onto the trailer.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we didn't know if it was going to run or not.
Was that's your grandpa's car, isn't it?
No, so that's Chad's
That's
personal
Chad's
car.
car.
Yeah, and so he's had that car since I think he was like 13 or something too, and it's nice, and he still has it, and I'm sure it'll come out, retirement at some point. But that was a really fun car.
Yeah, and it's a 69 Camaro drop top
Yep, yep,
and was a stock eliminator car at one point.
yeah, yeah. It was a really, I think it was a like a pretty good Stockholm United car. I think it won a lot, previous to Chad owning it, and then he got it when he was like 13 or 16 or something, and they repainted it, and it became his like high school car.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Um this is one that I need to maybe rewrite, but what friend do you have now that you didn't have before Rocky Mountain Race Week? But there's so many. I mean, we could
That's
go.
on it now or what?
Yeah, yeah.
Phew. Um, Man, somebody who like always has a smile on their face and always comes up and gives me a hug and asks me is Blaine's dad.
Oh, dude, totally, totally.
And I'm just gonna
Yes,
leave it at Blaine's
Tommy,
dad to see.
Tommy Stark.
Yeah, I wanted to see if people understood that. Yeah, Tom is such an amazing guy, uh, and I'm sure you guys have seen his son. Blaine running around. He's like 14 or 15 now, and he got to drive his dad's wagon and stuff. On race week in Junior Street. But Tom is always such a nice guy, and he is like so freaking talented. And
Oh,
like I
dude.
got to ride with them 2 years ago, I think, on race week for a short little stint in between two tracks, and
Mhm.
it was awesome getting to really talk to him about his business and all that he's done. So that's one guy that I met recently that just always is so caring and nice.
Totally. And Tommy owns and runs Precision Designs here in Denver. It might just be Precision Design. I don't know if there's an S on the end or not, but they do super high end like custom stuff. He's got a car that won Riddler Award. Legit fabricator and shop and everything. But yeah, Tommy is awesome. Here's one from Mike Stiver. What's the fastest you've ever been in a car?
So I'm trying to think. Uh, hmm. I think I've been 165 in a Tesla Model S Plaid.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was my boss's, which is more of like a really good friend, Mike, who sold his car, and those plaids are insane.
I have never ridden in one. I've just seen them, like Uncle Chet at race week in
Yeah,
his and stuff, and everything I've watched of them and seen of them, they're just nuts.
yeah, it's crazy, and I don't understand how they're street legal because nobody should be driving one of those on the street,
Right.
being able to go that fast because it is quite literally insane.
Rich Guido wants to know when your truck's going to be out. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but
Yeah.
when do you think you're going to have it like actually burning its own fuel, turning laps?
So right now, I'm really struggling on getting some parts in. The ECU has been a big struggle to get in, and same with the transmission. That took a while. I ordered it like a year or so before I ever got it, and so really, it's like I want to say as soon as possible, but I'm not going to give myself a deadline of it has to be out at a certain time because I
Right.
want to be able to continue to learn and continue to get better with the truck. And if that means that I'm going to continue to redo shit that I fucked up, 6
So
months
be it.
ago, yeah, so be it. I uh, I know that right now I'm redesigning the rear suspension, the rear cantilever suspension, because I know that the motion ratio wasn't right. So I had my friend Logan 3D scan it all. We're going to put it in CAD
That's
and
cool.
we're going to get it, to be right and to have a correct motion ratio and to be able to change the motion ratio if we want it, from 1 to 1 to be higher, stiffer or softer. And so
There's a
yeah, you can kind of see it in that photo
little
peeking out.
sneak peek.
Yeah, and so really, like the truck could be out, say 6 months. It could be out in a year. Who knows? I'd like to say sooner than later. I'm really like taking steps to just get it running
Right.
and get it driving and get it be able to be seen at other events. Like when I bring it out, it won't have a built engine in it. It'll probably be a 5.3 with heads, cam, and intake and twins strapped to it that only makes 500 horsepower. But
Right.
it'll still be out there, still burning tires, still burning fuel and having fun in it. Uh, but yeah, I really just want to focus on continuing to learn and make as much content as I can, on that thing.
Well, and there's a lot to be said too for being able to move it around under its own power. It
Yeah.
sucks ass pushing it around
Oh
for
yeah.
3 or 4 or 5 years
Yep.
when you're like, I wish I could just hit the key and drive it to where I needed to
Yeah.
get it to, even if it's not doesn't have a cooling system or a charging system. Who cares?
Yeah.
I need to like run. Okay, cool.
I
But
remember like before I did the steering and it having to like move the wheel and tire back and forth. That was terrible.
sucks
I mean,
ass.
it finally has good steering and once it has brakes, that'll be a big deal. Like I've started plumbing the brake lines and all that, but it's like once I can actually just roll it down a hill and be able to stop,
Yeah.
that'd be fun. I
What
see.
what
Yeah.
color is it gonna be?
So that's from Shanna. That's from my girlfriend.
Oh,
I haven't decided. Uh, honestly,
oh,
I ask her this question
she
probably like
she
every other
loves
week.
this, by the way.
Yeah. I ask her every other week, like what color it should be. Right now, it's just primered white. It has like a DP48 epoxy primer on it, and I'll probably end up keeping it a majority of it white, but do some cool decal on it that's blue or red, or I'm
Yeah,
not sure
whatever.
yet. But hey, if a company throws money at it, it could end up being green, yellow, pink. Who knows?
Yeah, whatever. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
If you want to paint the love and you've
Yep.
got some money to help him get the thing finished, then you can call it any color you want it.
Yeah. Like Adam, if you want to sponsor it, I'll put your face on the hood.
I
Like,
mean, I can't wait. Like Corey LaJoy did it on NASCAR, and he had his whole face on the entire hood of his car. It's pretty good. All right. How about what's your favorite endurance drag car or driver that's not you?
that's not me. I've actually never even driven in a drag and drive event, so it would be cool to one day compete in race week. But
You should.
um, hmm, man, I'm trying to think. I obviously love Larson, all of his cars, and like I've known Larry since I was very young. So, and what he does and how he does it, like you can never count him out. So I think Larson is a big one. Whew. Uh, I'm trying to think of like who else just I really like shooting and
While you're thinking of the Larson cars, which one's your favorite?
oh, the Chevy too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the S10 was awesome, and the ATS. Yeah, it's an ATSV, I think.
ATSV. Yep.
Yeah, that he runs with no prep kings, like that's awesome too. But the Chevy 2 will always be the like most badass. Oh, Doug Klein,
Dude.
his car. Oh my gosh, before he sold it, like his Camaro, that was awesome. Like I loved that car.
Oh yeah.
So
Rich Guido wants to know what Daphne's fastest pass was in the wagon.
it was
Can't remember.
11:53.
11:53.
Yep, and yeah, I mean for a 4,600-pound wagon on air ride, that's not terrible.
No, not at all. And it didn't have a cage or anything at the time. So
Mhm.
you can only go 1150.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's it.
yeah.
Heck
So
yeah.
yeah, 11:53.
We've already answered this one, and I would imagine your answer is the same. But what's your favorite Rocky Mountain Race Week track?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, Great Man.
Got to be Great Bend.
Yep.
Trailer or no trailer?
No trailer.
Gangster.
Do a roof rack or build a wagon or something. Like, I like no trailers. I mean, you can build a really badass trailer though. Like, I like Eric Yost's
Oh,
trailer.
dude. Yeah, I poured myself beer out of it at Sick
Yeah.
Week.
Yeah, so, if you do a trailer, do it right. I think, like, there's a lot of cool ideas to, make a trailer, like, different and cool on race week, but, I like seeing no trailer.
Heck yeah. This one's typically for a competitor. So it's advice for newbies, but I'm actually going to ask
Yep.
what's your advice for a newbie getting into content creation and,
Okay.
maybe even social media
Yeah.
management or whatever? Like the 14-year-old you that maybe is watching this at some point, what is your advice to him to get rolling in this industry?
Stop making excuses and just go do it. Stop being scared. Stop caring what other people think. Just pick up a camera, go do it, post what you're taking photos of, and talk to as many people as possible. Because I've been walking through the pits at a race and take a photo of somebody's car, and next thing I know, they're following me on Instagram. I'm following them, having conversations, and then hey, we're buddy buddy. It's like uh, Nikki Bobby,
Totally,
Nick.
dude. Nick Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one that it's like we knew of each other, we had seen each other, and last year on Sick Week, it's like I wanted to split rooms with somebody, and Debbie Taylor was like, well, ask Nick. I was like, okay. And now Nick and I are great friends. And like, I think that's just one of those instances where it's like, you wouldn't know that other person unless you take that opportunity to talk to them and then realize that they're super cool and down to earth and like just they become, friends and stuff.
I I
But
have a very similar Nick Taylor story to that actually.
really,
I met him at Drag Week 2016, and we were in the tech line next to each other. And I've got a LS Swap Malibu, and he's got an LS Swap Malibu.
yeah,
And he had his hood up, and I was like, "Dang, it's got big old single turbo and a bunch of really really trick suspension and stuff underneath, like that kind of crappy exterior
yeah,
that he had on the thing." But the bones were all really really good. But I
yeah,
was kind of poking around and looking at it, and he was like, "You see anything you like?" And I was like, "I see a lot of stuff I like." But I was like, "Well, I've got this one," and we're in tech line, so I was like, "I've got this one. We can
mhm,
probably share parts. Like if you need anything, like I've got a G body, and it's got an LS in it." And he's like, "That's got an LS in it," and like we just started kind of rapping and hanging out and having a good time, and it was super duper fun. And ever since then, I've
yeah,
just every time I see him, we just give each other a big old bear hug. And yeah, dude, I'm a Nicky
yeah,
Bobby fan. For my money, that dude is he's a gangster, and he's got that stuff down.
yeah. But definitely, when it comes to content creation, just get out there and go do it. Pick up a camera, shoot anything and everything, and post it. Um, and just start talking to people, DM people, talk to people in the pits. Just like don't care about judgment. I think that's something that I struggled with for a long time. Of man, my photos aren't as good as theirs, and it's like, dude, it doesn't matter if you're having fun and you have a smile on your face and you're enjoying what you're doing. Just go do it.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
So
Um, we already touched on this updates for your ride. Obviously we kind of touched on the love stuff, but
mhm.
when do you think that we're going to see you in a Dragon Drive?
Who knows? I mean, if Dad would ever let me take the wagon, it's like, hey, I'd
I'll
drive that thing.
again for the 10 people watching. Flip over real quick. He's at the Spring Fling Million. I'm sure he's still on the scaffolding,
Yeah.
hanging out. Go over there, click on the chat, tell him that Cole needs the wagon to do a Dragon Drive.
Yeah, it would be super fun, but I don't really ever want to borrow a car or take the love because the love isn't really the best. I want to be able to enjoy it like with my girlfriend or with friends and just be able to make memories in something like the wagon or something, similar.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, we just passed an hour. I can tell that your food's there and ready to go. So, um,
Yeah.
dude, I'm gonna let you go, and I really, really appreciate sitting down with me here and being flexible with your time to include me and talk about your mom and talk about your past and your history and kind of where you're at now and where you're moving forward to. And um, dude, it's super duper cool. And that's kind of the idea with this was really to get one on one with somebody that, like, dude, you may see and you may know enough, but like really sit down and dig into a lot of their heart and soul in this. And dude, you got that with like chalks and chalks and chalks and chalks full of heart and soul in motorsports, dude. So
Thank
um,
you.
again, thank you, dude. It was super cool, and I appreciate you sitting down with us.
Yeah, thank you again for this opportunity. When you asked me, I was so excited. And if you ever want me on the show again, just let me know.
I'm totally gonna. I'm totally gonna. And I did total. I said, dude, I want to talk about Daphne.
Yep.
So like, you just need to, tell me if I can't do that. And you're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm in. I can't wait. I love
Yeah.
telling the story about how badass she is. So,
Yep.
thank you again. And like I said, I know I get the deal. It's tough getting into some of that stuff, and I really really appreciate you letting me ask, questions that sometimes people wouldn't be comfortable asking. And again, it's very very cool. And really, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. You stay on real quick, and we'll just have a little end meeting, if you will. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in here to That's Cool Drink. Thanks again to Cole for being on. Thanks again to all of my people for being on and checking this out. And kind of like Cole was saying, like this was just sort of an idea that I came up with at dinner with Matt Frost. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to try to get everyone that was on that first race week, and this is just going to be content. And if 2 people are on, great. If 100 people are on, great as well. Like you can rewatch all this stuff kind of in the future and everything, but share this stuff, guys. It's super duper fun. I'm having a blast with it. And like, subscribe, do all the stuff because if I can make this into a thing where I can actually like make $1 with it, then who knows? I mean, whatever. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate everything. Thanks again to Cole for joining us for tonight. And next week, I've got Carlos Astor on, and we're going to talk about him with the wickedest crash with that wagon, and then coming back with the Cutlass and everything. But thank you again, and I will see you guys next week on That's Cool Drink.